Alright, so what's up you guys, it's your boy X and we are back at it again with another Super Dragon Ball Heroes video. Now today's a bit different, as you guys can see by the title. It's not specifically about Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission, but it is about Super Dragon Ball Heroes, and it's a question I received or at least see come by quite a lot. So I was like, you know what, let me make a video about it, and I had to do some research on it because I didn't just want to pull stuff out of the air, and here we are. So to get a bit more in depth on how big the chances are of a Super Dragon Ball Heroes arcade machine actually popping up anytime soon, I think it's important to ask ourselves a crucial question. Are current arcades really big enough in the first place to justify Heroes making an effort to come as arcades into the West? And to do just that, I went ahead and did some research for myself to find out how arcades are really doing in 2019 and hopefully find an answer on the outlook for arcades overall. And as someone who really liked arcades and wishes for arcades to have some sort of return in the West, results were grim to say the least. Out of a handful of search terms, you quickly get overwhelmed with blogs and forums already concluding arcades are dead. You can actually find forums of people discussing whether or not arcades are dead, which dates back all the way to 2010 if not older, which is already as good as a decade ago, which is not a good sign at all. And if you dig a bit deeper past the first few pages, you find some answers like yes, they are still around, just not as prominent, or when an article or blog actually stands behind arcades being alive, they quickly refer to places like Dave & Buster's and Chuck E. Cheese. Now, as someone who isn't from America nor is aware of American places or bars, you could say, I went ahead and checked out what, for example, a place like Dave & Buster's exactly is and what it holds as far as arcade games go. And when I did find an overview of the games those stores offered, then we are quickly talking about mobile game adaptations on bigger screens. Think about games like Angry Birds and Candy Crush, and at some point I even saw a Pac-Man Battle Royale being promoted and some other games that weren't directly video games, like a machine where you have to tap a certain button in front of you when the light pops up. And of course everyone has his own opinion of what an arcade really holds, but to me that is not the arcades I have in mind when I'm talking about arcades myself. When I think about arcades, I'm quicker to lean over to the Japanese style of arcades with updated game titles within the arcade machines like Dragon Ball FighterZ, Street Fighter, and even Mario Kart at that, and of course Super Dragon Ball Heroes being the main thing we're here for. You can also find stuff like crane games and racing machines and stuff like dancing games. However, I'm sure if you look hard enough at some places, they might even offer that still in 2019, so I didn't really want to bring that up specifically. Now, if you take a look at those titles Japanese arcades really carry out, I think it's safe to say you see yourself playing Dragon Ball FighterZ, for example, way quicker on a console at home rather than an arcade machine. And the reason why I bring that up is because consoles seem to be getting the blame on why arcades are dead over in the West. Now, in all honesty, there could be a big part and a valid argument on why Western arcades take such a different stance on things rather than Japanese arcades, because if we think about it, the thought of why would I go to the arcade if I can just launch a call at Discord and play with my friends in a party instead is quite more common than you might think. In response, you could of course say, well, why would I play a mobile game if I can just download them myself, which is valid, and if anything, I had to talk about this last week and that's exactly what I said. However, now if I think about it, if I were in a food spot or bar with some friends and I see some big machine playing something like Crossy Road, I think the chances of me and my friends goofing off and putting a coin in or two just for the hell of it is pretty big. I mean, it's easy, takes up maximum 3 minutes or so per turn, and therefore it's time efficient, and it's just something you wouldn't really consider playing as in sitting down for it and intensely stare at the screen for a good 10 to 15 minutes like I do when I'd run a set in a fighting game like Street Fighter or Dragon Ball. And this right here is the business model current places like Dave & Buster's apply, and no reason not to, since the revenue they make are very strong numbers financially. Because if you're running a place like Dave & Buster's and you see something like Crossing Road doing well, there's no reason for you to slap something down like Dragon Ball FighterZ, which might potentially not even do any good. That said, I'm not here to talk about Japanese arcades versus Western arcades or arcade culture all round, and that's a whole different story. But if we do take in consideration what type of games are actually lined up in said arcades over in the West, I think we can quickly agree on Super Dragon Ball Hero arcade machines having close to no business in the western part of arcades, since Western arcades just don't offer the same environment as a whole, especially compared to Japan Japan, since that is of course the place where Super Dragon Ball Heroes as an arcade game grew up and completely blew up to the point where it is right now. And the reason I'm bringing this up is mainly for the bigger picture, to return to where we started off with the question of justifying if Super Dragon Ball Heroes as an arcade machine coming over to the West is justified. And in my honest conclusion, I'd say it's painful to admit, but I don't think a move like that is happening anytime soon, nor justified as a whole. If I were to run a business and I'd had to invest in Super Dragon Ball Heroes as an arcade machine over in the West, I honestly wouldn't do it, and I would be afraid of financial loss. I personally just don't think Super Dragon Ball Heroes is at a point where it racks up enough interest of people to do well in the West as of now, and I might even say that it will flop, if anything, if they were to bring arcade machines with Super Dragon Ball Heroes over into the West. I sadly couldn't find sale numbers on the games in the West, which I'd like to have seen to support my thoughts, but I just wasn't able to find anything outside of the Japanese sale numbers, which have no relevance to my conclusion at all. And just before some of you might go run off and come like, well, I will go to the arcades every day to play it, so this and that and woo woo woo, I mean, that's not what I'm taking off this conclusion. I'm not trying to say whether you personally as a viewer would or wouldn't go out to play a Heroes machine, but overall I don't think the Heroes fanbase is big enough as of now in the West just to keep such a thing at a stable line of revenue to keep things like this alive and well. That said, who knows what the future holds? Nothing is certain and everything could flip in the span of an hour, but as of now I think it's safe to say Super Dragon Ball Heroes arcade machines are a complete no-go. Now if you guys have a different idea or a theory on this, then feel free to let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear it and see what you guys think about this. And at last, if you are indeed interested in Super Dragon Ball Heroes content as a whole, then you might want to consider hitting that sub button for more content from me regarding Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission and everything Heroes all around. So that was it for today, guys. It was your boy X signing out. Stay healthy, stay blessed, and I'm out. Peace.